Oh, God, that's good decaf.
Excellent decaf. It's nighttime right now.
It's nighttime, so we don't going to get too big of a coffee buzz.
Yeah, yeah.
But we do want to discuss tonight's very special man movie from 1978, directed by the great Hal Needham, starring Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, and Jan Michael Vincent.
Hooper. Great movie.
There's only really one level to it, and that is being a stuntman is a badass way to live your life.
I'm gonna hit it.
Hey, Scotty!
I did it! On the move!
It does look fun, but you see the literal scars, the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah.
You see the wear and tear.
I guess it's about also getting old, because Hooper, he's a stuntman who's still the best in the biz, but he's kind of reached his prime, and he's sort of starting to feel his age a little bit. So he's got all these scars on his body, and
It's taking its toll.
Yeah, you know that he's had a few injuries, and a stuntman is not a game you can. It's not an old man's game.
No. No.
And to add to that, there's this new hotshot young punk stuntman. I guess he's jumping out of planes higher than other people have, right? I feel like there was some record he was close to
he was
breaking.
doing something impressive. That was his intro to the movie, intro to Hooper, jumping out of a plane. And that was Jan Michael Vincent.
That was Jan Michael Vincent.
What's his name again in the movie?
It was some goofy sounding name that sounded like ski shit or shit ski or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they go, we'll just call you Ski.
Yeah.
Bert's a little like, who's this kid think he is? But pretty quickly he realized that this kid's all right.
Yeah. They kind of set them up to be sort of enemies at first, right? Like that's what you think, like, oh, this is going to be trouble. But then they become best friends in like no time at all.
That's one thing that today we might frown on. There's a lot of comedy around drunk driving. And it's not like we wonder if they're literally drinking while they're driving, throwing beer cans at cop cars because they object that they're drinking and driving.
Yeah, there's no respect for the law or other people's lives driving on the driving alongside them on the PCH, right?
Yeah, they're on the PCH, which is a very curvy
it's already dangerous
road right by the coast. So any wrong move, you're in the ocean.
Yeah, you're going over a cliff and dying.
And
but these are stunt
drivers.
These are stunt.
These are trained professionals. Yeah. They drink and drive for a living.
This is what they do. So I like in the beginning of the movie, they set the tone. It's like you see Hooper, you see him doing his thing. He immediately does a stunt, and then we get introduced to the director, who's a key part of the film.
Right.
Real piece of shit. Shows up in a Rolls Royce. He's got a sweater around his neck, right? But you just get this
Robert Klein.
Robert Klein,
famous comedian.
You're right. That is.
I haven't
Robert
seen
Klein.
him in a lot of movies other than this.
Wow, that is Robert Klein. I only know him as an old man, but you're right. But yeah, it's nice to get that the uptight piece of shit guy. Doesn't really care about humanity, and but and then you get Burt Reynolds, and he's just filled with humanity.
He's like a man's man. Everybody loves him. All the women like him. Every guy's his buddy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
We may be in trouble.
Even when he got into that bar fight with Terry Bradshaw, at the end of that,
they're buddies.
Yeah, they got their arm around each other. There's a common bond, like, we're going to get drunk and throw our fists around, but that's what men do.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go back. Crazy? Let's just sit here and talk about it.
Oh, what are you talking about? I can't let you.
All right, I get that you guys are having a fun bar fight, but somebody's got to pay for that jukebox. And you
That's
probably
true.
scratched
They
up a bunch of
destroyed the
records in
bar.
there.
Yeah. And you remember Sally Fields just eating, still like eating her spaghetti or whatever the fuck it was,
Yeah.
acting like it was all fine.
Nothing, ain't no thing for her.
Yeah,
She sees it
it
all
was
the time.
just
lifts
a-
her plate up, somebody slides
Yeah.
across the table. I love those bar fights. Where
I
they
know,
kinda
yeah.
does the same move every time.
Yeah, it's fun.
Where somebody like goes for a punch and then the guy moves his head and he punches his buddy.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's classic.
That
That's
happens.
a classic move.
Sally Field too. It's kind of funny seeing her young.
Yeah,
She looked good in that.
she's hot.
She
in
was a
this
good-looking
movie.
woman.
Yeah, she aged very well too.
Yeah.
She's always looked good, but she was very cute, very pretty.
Yeah.
And Burt Reynolds was really hitting that, right? At that point in time.
Yes, he was. They were really together.
It just goes to show you that's who this guy was.
Yeah.
Just charm the pants off her.
Absolutely. And she was like, I don't know how serious of an actress she was at the time, but I mostly know her from like the 80s and 90s and until today playing kind of serious, dramatic roles or just
Mhm.
kind of nothing that goofy. Because she was
Yeah,
doing Norma Ray after that.
Yeah, Forrest Gump. That was my introduction to her.
Well, I guess that's a goofy movie, but it's also like dramatic and
Yeah.
kind of takes itself seriously. I don't think Hooper took itself seriously in any way at all.
Well, they raised the stakes at some point, right? At the end.
Now, if we go over here, as you can see, this is the articulating facets. This is a coronal facing here, as you can see, and this is a sagittal facing over here. This gives a very unstable low back condition.
How's my coccyx erectus?
If you'll just hold on to it for a minute, I'll finish.
They do talk about him with his problems. He finds out from his doctor who was smoking also. Even the doctors are cool in this. But the doctor tells Hooper that his spine is weak in two places, and he goes, "Yeah, you know, if you do another stunt, you might die or you might get paralyzed."
What would your reaction be if you got that news?
I'd be like, "Oh shit! Well, I better go sit in a rocking chair the rest of my life."
Yeah, and I'd be freaking out right then and there. I'd be like, "Are you serious? Can we do anything?" Like I'd get all nervous
Right.
and my voice would sound like shit. But I just remember him like laying back on the table, right? He didn't give a fuck.
He's laid back. He's popping bubble gum.
Yeah, he didn't care. It's like, well, you know, that's the price you pay for being Hooper.
Yeah. I'm not going to stop being Hooper just because my back gets broken.
Yeah,
and I
just
die.
because I'm about to be paralyzed.
Why not jump a car over the gorge?
Oh, Ski, will you knock it off with the jokes?
No. What do you mean, Ski?
Well, you'd have the biggest, best car stunt ever done.
It's all leading up to this big final stunt. It's going to be the biggest car stunt in the world. They're going to get a rocket car. They're going to jump it up a ramp across a bridge that's exploded, and they're going to go 325 feet.
Most dangerous stunt you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jan Michael Vincent, who plays Ski, this young kid, he kind of is the reason they decide to do it because he wants to do something that's never been done before. He's got something to prove. He's a hot shot. And Hooper didn't come up with the idea. It was Ski, but Hooper knew it was a great idea, and he couldn't back down because this, you know, he had to still show that he was number one also.
Yeah.
So he's going to do this stunt. It's going to be his last stunt. He's going to get paid more money than he's ever been paid before.
He can retire.
He's going to retire, buy off the ranch, but he also might die.
Yeah, which he keeps from Sally Field.
He doesn't tell her about it.
He doesn't tell her about it.
His buddy rats him out.
Yeah, and then he punched that guy in the face.
You told me you were quitting after this picture so you could trade it off against doing this ridiculous stunt. Isn't that true?
You're crazy, you know that? I'll tell you one thing. You're crazy, you know?
I don't want to hear you.
No, listen.
Will you get your hands off
you
me?
dumb jackass.
You shut your drunken mouth.
Listen, don't. You're messing up my wardrobe.
Sonny!
Like, you can punch your good buddy in the face sometimes, and then afterwards you shake hands and you just have a beer together, and that's it.
That son of a bitch can hit.
Colin, I'm so sorry.
Oh, he didn't mean it. If he'd have meant it, he'd have hit a lot harder. He's hurting, Glennie. He's got a lot of things on his mind.
He's kind of one of these guys who, like, he doesn't deal with anger. He's an old school guy. His feelings are hard for him to tap into.
Yeah.
You know? He just goes out and gets drunk because he doesn't know how to talk to his girlfriend.
This was after he punched his buddy.
Yeah, he punched his buddy. He goes out, gets drunk, and rather than talk to his girlfriend, he decides to ride his horse bareback in the moonlight.
Yeah.
And he's riding him with purpose, kind of, because he's still got a lot on his mind, you know?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Sally Field wakes up, and she sees him out there, and she goes out, and she's watching him, and then he decides to charge at her with the horse.
That's right.
He gets the horse to jump over the fence and then, like, stop right next to her.
Yeah.
And so they do this with the camera directly facing the horse and the rider, and they're riding towards the camera, and it's Burt Reynolds, and then they jump over the fence, same angle, same shot, and it's totally not Burt Reynolds.
It's not
now
Burt
on
Reynolds
the
at
horse.
all.
It's a guy with
It's a
different
stunt
hair.
guy.
It almost looked like Adam West.
I almost feel like that was intentional. It's got to be, right?
It could
Burt
be.
Reynolds could have trained enough to jump over a fence with a horse, right?
He could have, but
Or he's also ballsy enough to where he's like, yeah, I can do that. Didn't he do the fucking the rapid stunt?
yeah,
In
but he was younger then.
what was that?
Deliverance.
Smokey and the
That was
Bandit.
like Deliverance.
Deliverance.
Yeah, very different movies.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds is like the coolest guy ever. That was sort of my takeaway from this.
Yeah.
It was like, this dude's just too cool.
Yeah.
He's so charming, and like, I don't know. He's just such a charming dude.
Spoiler alert, the end of the movie, they do, I think there's like a half an hour left, and you just get to be in the car with them through every aspect of this stunt, which involves a car driving through a town that's on fire. I guess there's been an earthquake, and there's explosions everywhere, and there's cars running into each other, and pillars falling down. They drove under this, like, looked like a medieval castle. It was all bricks, and it just fell down right before the car ran under it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which that was really impressive to me. Like, they talked about doing it in the fake movie, and then they actually did the stunt in the real movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do the jump. And it's a big success. And Burt Reynolds gets to do one of the classic routines you'll see in a lot of man movies. He confronts his dickhead boss, who's the director, and the director gives him this really phony heart-to-heart talk. He's like, gets him alone. He goes, Burt, or Hooper, I know I haven't been the easiest guy to get along with. I'm big enough to admit when I'm wrong and apologize, and I'm sure you're a big enough man to accept that apology. And then Burt adds his touch with the look to the camera, a little wink, and then he just socks him in the jaw.
Doesn't he say, well, that's where you're wrong?
Oh, yeah, he says,
right?
Well, once again, Roger, you're all wrong. And then he knocks him out.
Is that the line?
Something
You're
like
all
that.
wrong.
Said, you're all wet.
Yeah.
And he knocked him into the river.
Yeah, that was a gratifying moment, The director was a dick to him the entire movie.
Because most men, and probably also most women, rather than doing what we do for a living, we'd rather jump off buildings and race around really fast in cars and get drunk with our pals and get into comical bar fights and have a hot girlfriend and a horse and
They're going to say a whore.
and a couple of women on the side, I'd imagine.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Every woman was flirting with him in this movie.
Yeah. He's the most likable guy ever.
He has the best life ever. And on top of all that, he gets to punch his boss in the nose.
Yeah. Had
And
it
gets
coming.
paid for it. All right. Well, we've listed many, many reasons why Hooper is a classic man movie, the quintessential man movie.
It really is. I think anything starring Burt Reynolds is probably qualifies as a man movie.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a Burt Reynolds movie that wouldn't be considered a man movie.
Yeah, and it's because he is a man.
Absolutely.
This is a man.
And Hooper is a movie.
Hooper
and it was
is
a hell of a movie.
Hell of a man movie.
Until next time.
Till next time.
All right.
I mean, I didn't think Hooper had it in him to do the stunt. Like, I thought he was going to chicken out.
Oh! 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 Oh!
You got me good, you old son of a bitch.